I want you to close your eyes. I want you to imagine a great night of gaming you've had. You know, one of those nights that are branded onto your memory. It sits there in your memory, a reminder that perfect things do exist in the world, even if they're only glimpsed through the frosted glass of recollection. The company was perfect. The lighting revealed everything was warm and mellow. The crisps exploded with flavour as you crunch them between your perfectly white teeth. I want you to remember those cesium flashes of joy that dash across your inner vision. The dazzle of a smile, the melody of a laugh. Then I want you to put yourself there, that night, with those people. I want you to look down at the table. What is the illustrated rectangle that sits there? What pieces of wood or plastic stand on it? And I want you to imagine the box of that game. Travel up that box cover, past the image and focus on the text. Go past the name of the game, you know that already. There is another name that stands near it, probably smaller. It is the name of a person. Think of that name, then pull back. Run through that night again, quicker this time. The laughs, the cool drinks, that feeling of engagement and warmth as you make your way through the ludological lanes of the game. How good you felt that night. How good that recollection feels now. And think of that name again. Remember that name, because that is the name of the person who is responsible for that wonderful night. Their intellectual concepts that reached into your brain and illuminated parts of it, that forced the production of endorphins and serotonin. Those mechanical concepts resulting in a chemical change in you. Their skill in making games brought you together with the people around the table, but also the designer themselves, as you wrangled with the fruits of their labour. It is a kind of explicable magic that they can reach out from their minds into rooms all around the world and transform people. I have found friends because of the work of these people. I have found love because of the work of these people. I have even been paid hard currency to talk about the work of these people. This is a video that is dedicated to those beautiful minds that create these things we love, that possess a skill I'll never have. Those people who weave experience out of ideas. When you put a game on the table, you're stepping into the mind of the creator, a ritual apparent since the dawn of humanity. We are alive because we play. We are human because we play with rules. This is a video for the creators of those rules, those who gift us our humanity. These are the best game designers in the world. Oh, and you can open your eyes now. Old cliche runs that you should never meet your heroes. This is because people invariably equal shit. Still, sometimes you meet your heroes and they turn out to be absolutely brilliant people. I met Martin in a pub in Essen a few years ago, and it became clear that we had a very similar sense of humour and an appreciation for the brewer's arts. As a result, Essen has become something of a bender whenever I spend time with Martin. This is just the cringy name drop part though. The real reason Martin is on this list is because Martin Wallace is one of the great elder statesmen of game design. Publishing his first design, Lords of Creation, in 1993, he has gone on to make a bushel of simply breathtaking titles. His games are always challenging and eschew the vagaries of fashion for classic design. That's why he's able to produce games that are timeless. A Few Acres of Snow is one such title. Probably the first game to take the revolution that was deck building and enfold it into a bigger whole. To make it the propulsive force of a game rather than the game itself. This game explores the British and French conflicts in North America in the 17th and 18th century. The cards you acquire are transformed into ships and coracles and food and horse carts. They are weapons that help you crawl across the board and gain territory. This is a wonderful example of taking a singular mechanism and folding it into a consistent whole. It is a wonderfully engaging two-player game and a must play. Discworld Ankh-Morpork is one of my grail games. I want this game so much it makes my knees ache, but I don't want to remortgage the home I don't own to buy a bloody copy of the thing, so I will remain forever wanting. I've played this though when it came out. Martin has a history of taking other works and making brilliant games out of them. A Study in Emerald from Neil Gaiman is another fine example. In Discworld, you fight over control of Pratchett's legendary city. The game brilliantly represents the various factors at play and wonderfully evokes the chaos that is Ankh-Morpork. You assume the roles of classic Pratchett characters with hidden victory conditions and scheme your way to the top. This is by far the best Pratchett game and one I will never own. Age of Steam might be the best designed game of all time. This is a game that promotes obsession in people. There is even a convention solely devoted to this one game. There is not a tighter and deeper game that has ever been designed than Age of Steam. It is so clean and unencumbered by unnecessary complication, and yet it's profound and brutal and brilliant. You won't have an issue learning this game, but you will be mutilated by more experienced players. This is the cornerstone of train games and a true classic by every definition of the word. Well, not everyone. I mean, it's not ancient Greek, for instance. Martin, though, would have to be included on this list for Age of Steam alone. It doesn't hurt that he's designed more bangers than you can shake a very shitty stick at either. Now, I'm not being particularly original putting Rina Kanai on this list. Many consider him the greatest living designer, and he's certainly the most prolific with over 6,000 published designs. When I got into gaming though, Kanai was rather out of vogue, and my first few years I barely played anything by him, and frankly, I didn't understand what all the fuss was about. When I started to play his classic games though, I not only saw what the fuss was about, but I heartily agreed. In a gaming climate where complicated equates to good, Kanai's titles are revolutionary. His designs are stripped back and manage to squeeze the most depth out of the fewest rules. His games are almost absurdly easy to learn, and yet they deliver an experience that is like a smack to the chops. Also, he has a natural understanding of the workings of the human mind and can consistently pull levers in the brain that generate fun. There is no designer that understands the motivations of people better than Kanai. Samurai is one of his classics, a simple abstract game of placement and taking pieces that is as cutthroat as anything you'll play. Like all great abstracts, the rules can be taught in 5 minutes, but you'll fall over yourself trying to be any good at it. There is always one thing that Kanai brings to a game to transform it into brilliance, and here it's the bonus tokens. They confer amazing benefits, but you'll have to play them at the right time or you'll be scuppered. Brilliant. High Society is a fully fledged bastard. It is also the best 20 minutes of your life you'll ever spend. This is an auction game where you're trying to pick up the most baubles and gewgaws to show off your impeccable taste. If you spend the most money though, you are considered awfully gauche and you'll lose outright. The real genius here is the money cards that you bid with. The way they're distributed tempts you into making sillier and sillier decisions, and you'll have to curb your worst instincts to not end up dead last. There is so much think and double think in a game of High Society, and it's wonderful. Then we have Modern Art, Kanai's greatest achievement. A pure auction game in which we take on the roles of the bottom feeders that leech off true creative minds. Modern Art is simultaneously a deep strategy game and a party game and excels in both genres. The heart of this one is the market that wonderfully simulates the flighty nature of fashion, and the artist you were sure was hot 5 minutes ago could be out in the cold and all of your investment was for naught. Modern Art exemplifies everything Kanai is about. Simple, deep, brutal and riotous fun. It's a brilliant game. When I got into gaming, the Euro genre was balanced on the twin pillars of Uve Rosenberg and Stefan Feld. Titanic names. While I like Feld's designs, there is something about their cold rationality that distances me. Rosenberg, on the other hand, there is an organic humanity in his work that never fails to draw me in. There is always joy in a box with Uve Rosenberg's name on it. Uve's games always feel incredibly thematic. They're abstractions, of course, as all games are, but you really feel that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing in one of his games. Also, there is a feeling of connection to an Uve Rosenberg game that seems to transcend the mechanisms. Bonanza is a surprise looking at Rosenberg post-Agricola, but before that farm-shaped behemoth hove into sight, this was the game he was most famous for. A brilliantly concise and tense negotiation game, this game has you flying around the table, desperately trying to encourage your opponents to agree to your bargains. This is a simple set collection game, and so much more. It's so simple and so much fun, and it's no wonder it's been consistently in print for 25 years. Patchwork is one of Uve Rosenberg's tightest designs. The first time I put this on the table, it just clicked. The forward planning, the brilliant manipulation of turn order, the sheer wanton brutality of the minus points. This looks like a comfortable little distraction, but it is a bastard. A real bastard. Many people don't think of his little games when appraising Uve Rosenberg, but this is one of his best. Le Havre, though, his masterpiece. If you'd have told an 18-year-old me that I would have got all hot under the collar for a game about shipping goods, then you would have instilled in that little idiot an intense fear of middle age. You don't need to be scared, though, because middle age has Le Havre in it. This has the best arc in gaming. You start wondering how you'll be able to do anything of any significance, and by the end of the game, every turn is an odyssey. All of this is beautifully unobtrusive too. Increment by increment, your actions grow in import as Uve takes you through the journey of the game. You finish a game of Le Havre feeling invigorated and happy that you communed with genius. Brilliant. I'm convinced that Vlad Chimaev's first language is games. There is no designer on the planet that can so convincingly flit genres and weight as effortlessly as Vlad Chimaev. His games are not just brilliant mechanistically either. They are witty and informative of his artistic vision for this medium. He is the preeminent auteur of game design. He makes visionary works that want to tell us about the player and the creator. These are not merely games to be put on a table. They are cultural artefacts that should be admired. Dungeon Pets is the closest Vlad Chimaev has come to being whimsical. Yet this is a game of devilish design and humour that veers into the dark. Sure, you're raising pets, but they are being raised to eat heroes. You raise them purely for profit, and if they go unsold, well, there's a farm up the road that they can go and play in, and that meat that has just shown up is pure coincidence. The feeding mechanism here is so clever and something I've never seen used again. This is a game of singular character, but also a brilliantly designed Eurogame that you'll absolutely love. I couldn't talk about Vlad Chimaev without mentioning his biggest hit, Codenames. This was an upheaval when it came out and has spawned a legion of expansions and copycats. The design here is simple, crystalline beauty, pure style. It is so simple that anyone can play it, but deep and engaging enough that it will appeal to the broadest of audiences. It's cool to hate on Codenames now, but it's one of the most important games of the century and it's brilliant. He will be remembered though for designing the best game ever made, a towering testament to what games can do. This is the game that eclipses all others for me. There is superhuman mechanical rigour here, and a system so complex it boggles the mind how a human could fashion something so complex and make it work so well. This is through the ages. Every turn is filled with massive decisions, and even though it's a long game, you're captivated throughout. Then there's the stories it tells. It tells the whole sweep of human history and our greatest triumphs and deplorable evils. If there is a game that can be put up there with Matisse, Dickens or Bergman, it is Through the Ages, a true masterpiece that I will always play, always fail at, always love. One of the first games I played when I got into the hobby was Libertalia. It sticks in my mind when many have been flushed away by time, because it was the first time I really remember strategizing in a game, really understanding the ramifications of my actions. decisions, trying to surmise what my opponents were thinking and assessing my own play accordingly. I was being a gamer, and that was incredibly rewarding for me. This is just one of the many factors that pulled me irrevocably into the hobby. This is indicative of Paolo Mori's designs. Super simple yet faultlessly engaging and accessible to any level of player with any level of skill. Anyone can play a Paolo Mori game and anyone can love it. What is so brilliant about Libertalia is how it highlights the differences in cognition between people. We all start the game with the same cards in our hands, but as the game progresses, what we use diverges as we try to assess how we'll succeed, and our final hands look nothing like each other's in the end. All of the powers are brilliantly designed and bounce off each other in endlessly surprising ways. This is a truly brilliantly designed game. Just get the old version though, not the new kids one. You need grime and bite, and Stonemaier Games has done a disservice to a fantastic game. Dogs of War is so criminally underrated. This game is a riot any time I play it, and the most timid of people turn into bloodthirsty bastards by the end. This is a tug-of-war game that thrives on making alliances and then breaking them a turn later. You need to dispense with your sentimentality to play Dogs of War, but you'll have a great laugh doing it. Match of the Century is not one of Paolo Mori's more well-known designs, but it is one of his most compelling. Chronicling the chess match between Spassky and Fischer, it evokes the thoughtfulness and deliberation of playing chess without actually having to play chess. This is a brilliant two-player game that puts you in the mind of your opponent as you try to navigate their plays, and it manages to model the stress and fatigue of a chess match. If you like two-player games and you haven't played this one, well then you should. So there we are, the indisputably best designers in board games, and that's science. Tell me in the comments what your favourites are. Also, you can find links in the box below to the best Discord in gaming. You can buy merch, and you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, and if you really like it, you can back the channel like these lovely people. Right, I'm off to cry because of my obvious lack of talent.